Matteo, if you're ready, then let's get started. Let's not waste any time. So, hello, Matteo. Welcome to our podcast today. Really, really great to see you and speak to you. And thank you for joining us. So what we're going to do today, we're going to ask you a series of questions, mainly focused on obviously what's going on in the industry and around Ukraine. And we're really interested to get your opinion and to hear from you everything that's happened, especially seeing as you seem like a very, very strong supporter of Ukraine on your LinkedIn, the flags and everything. So we really thank you for that. And yeah, looking forward to hearing more. Before we do, Matteo, if you can just introduce yourself a little bit for our listeners and just tell a little bit about what you do, a little bit about your company.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm Matteo. I'm the co-founder of Popup, which is an e-commerce platform. Before that, I co-founded a company with the same people that we co-founded Popup, which is Vice Group, which is an e-commerce portfolio of 7 different e-commerce brands. And we started, we bootstrapped that with zero. Like we started with $1,000, we grew to 40 million, I think, revenue on the first year. Wow. And before that, I used to work for Shopify. And so my career has been mainly in e-commerce and then starting companies, failing companies. And I think finally now I got into something that we created something good. The timing was great as well at the time. And here I am. I mean, for me, Ukraine is personal. It's my second home. I spend most of the time there. I'm based in Ireland because my daughter is here, so I go back and forth. My wife is Ukrainian as well, and literally we were there like a week before the start bombing. I had to come back. I always come back. We weren't like planning, hey, let's come back because we're scared of the war. We were just there drinking and in Kyiv, like having our life. Part of my team as well is on the ground. My product manager product manager is there, couple of designers, and lots of my friends, also businesses that I collaborated with. We recently shot an episode for Popup TV, which is a show that I go around Europe to speak with entrepreneurs about their journey. And one of the episodes, actually, the first episode was filmed in Kyiv with the local designer. And so there's a little bit of the story.
Well, it's definitely personal,
what I do and why I got involved.
Mm-hmm. Definitely personal. I had the same situation. I live in Ukraine usually. I was lucky. I was quick enough to get out before it all actually happened. But I've lived in Ukraine for the last 2 years, and for this to happen is just unimaginable. Just not possible to even believe it was happening. I was the same. I was in Ukraine working as usual, but I decided to come back to the UK. Just I needed to see my parents and see them for months, and then couldn't get back. Obviously, it started. My friend, my little puppy, my dog is out there, so it's awful at the moment. And obviously, my situation is 100 times better compared to so many Ukrainians which have been stuck out there. So, just hoping it can end as soon as possible. And for sure. And definitely personal for you, especially if your wife is from Ukraine as well, makes it even more important. Yeah. So, okay. I have actually seen a few of your posts on LinkedIn as well, with your support of Zelensky and obviously your support of what have you learned over the last few weeks. Tell me a little bit about that. What have you feel like you've learned from the situation over the last few weeks?
I want to say something positive, I think, in terms of all the negative things that are happening. I think that what happened in Ukraine right now is terrible, but it will change the country forever in a much better way. I think Ukraine now is in a world map for the place to be, the people to hire, and where to invest the money. Most of my friends who work in the VC and investment in Ukraine, they said they had massive issues from the last 8 years to gather investments. Friends that work in real estate, they've been, also hit by that. I feel that what happened for the last 8 years was slowing down Ukraine and arrived to a boiling point that had to be stopped. So I think this war was inevitable. I think it's like if you get hurt, right, and you have a back pain and you can still walk, and you know that eventually you have to go to surgery, and you can delay it as much as you want, but I think it was inevitable. he was never going to stop. And this progress was stopped by the war in the East. So I do think that when this finish, Ukraine is never going to be the same place again. It's going to be much better. This war has united as well the country in a way that's never seen.
Absolutely.
Zelensky had 72% of votes, but my wife is from the East. She's South Russian actually. She's from Kharkiv, and her parents were Russian supporter still. It's like lots of Ukrainians are still Russian supporter, and they're just gone. They don't exist anymore. So the country's been united in a way that has never been done before, and the world now knows Ukraine and knows how strong Ukrainian people are, which leads me to believe that if you are a company, you want to hire developers, you're going to favor Ukrainians because they're brave, they're strong, they are, they have values and they're kind. It's like the media attention that Ukraine got in the last week really baffled me. And what I think was the most surprising thing for me was the power of social media. And Zelensky is a comedian, he knows that. He's an entertainer and he's young. He knows that if he rallies the people will influence governments and influence companies. So I don't know if most of these companies that left Russia care about Ukraine. I know they care about their customers. Does it matter? Not really. I don't care. They don't want to lose their customer base. They know that either I'm going to go with Russia or I'm going to lose all my customers from all over the world, because now there's no neutrality anymore in this conflict. In this war, there's no neutrality. It's either you are with Russia or you're against Russia. Exactly. And this was done by the people. And this is the power of social media from TikTok, from Instagram Reels, from LinkedIn posts, from every social media is just doing their parts to make Ukraine shine. And Russian propaganda, which has been basically the war machine behind every conflict that they started, it's how can they win? I mean, it's like trying to put the fire off with a small cup of water.
Absolutely, it seems like there's no way back now. They've taken that route and they're just going down and down. It's continued to go down. You can see the ruble falling through the ground every day. You see companies, mass amount of companies coming out of Russia every day, and that's actually on their own backs, isn't it? This isn't even governments telling them to get out. It's them themselves making that decision to realize, as you said, you're either with Russia or you're against Russia. But you are exactly right, joining the country like never before. And I agree with you with the inevitability. It is exactly that. There was an issue, it wasn't really addressed, it was just covered up, but now it's being addressed. And yeah, soon to be even stronger than before, most definitely. Okay, good. Did you, obviously being in Ukraine, obviously having a Ukrainian wife, family, personal part as well, did your company already have serious kind of conversations about the threat of war before it actually came about? Obviously, we had imminent invasion being thrown at us for months on the news. Did you see anything?
No. Honestly, I was very, very relaxed. I honestly didn't think he was going to attack. I was very, very surprised. I mean, it's like I remember my wife waking me up at 5 a.m. and it's like he just did he attacked. And I remember I was in, we were in Kyiv on like the week before, and you were in Ukraine as well. I mean, you saw it's like parties were going on, and the people going out in restaurant, life as usual. I mean, the East has been dealing with the war for such a long time, and I think it caught a lot of people unprepared, and I think it caught a lot of people unprepared as well within the Kremlin and within Russia. And the more I hear, it's like it's very strange, because you would expect from an ex-KGB agent to be a good strategist, and what it didn't make any sense to me, because if you spend any time in Ukraine, anyone would tell you, you can take a city, but you're never going to be able to hold it. I mean, just watch,
what happened in 2014. Exactly.
I just watched that. And it's like, if you watch this, you're like, how can possible I can hold the city? It's like, it's just going to be Maidan 2.0 everywhere in Ukraine, 10 times bigger. So to me, it was like, where did they get the intel? I mean, I still very much cannot understand how in his right mind he thought, I'm going to go there and liberating. And I really thought at the beginning, I was like, maybe this is user bullshit that he says, but a lot of people that I've been speaking to, like they actually started to believe, they actually believed that he was going to be welcomed with flowers instead of Molotov cocktails.
You know, so kind of far from reality, so isolated from the real world of what actually Ukraine is. Yeah, so exactly that. Ukrainians would never, like you said, Winter on Fire, great example to show what Ukrainians are like. And you watch that and you will know they will never give up. Yeah, they will never give in. Okay, very interesting. What does the implications of the war have on your company personally? How have you and how are you preparing for this?
Yeah, I think we pivoted to Commerce for Good, which is the charity that we just started. So for two reasons, Viceroy Group, which is the company that we started before, and myself and Corey, my business partner, we moved away from the company. We're just on an advisor role. My wife took over that. It was a strange time at the time, and we were trying to find a CEO to be able to move to Popup completely, because we had Viceroy Group and we needed to just focus our attention on the platform. And it was very hard to find someone. And Katya was in a period of her life where she wasn't really going anywhere with their advertising agency. I mean, they were getting clients, but she felt that she wanted to kind of work with her own brands. So she came to me and said, hey, I can take over this. And literally within a week we were out. Like myself and Corey were just like able. She took it over. And the company started to run on its own, right?
Wow.
And so the idea came to be where we started to get requests from our people on the ground. It's like, hey, I need this, I need that. There's no bulletproof vest. I need CB radios. I need this. And we had over 250 suppliers through our career in e-commerce, and five scouters, we call them scouters, working for us, that basically go around and try to source products, from both China, Vietnam, and Turkey. And that's what we did. We just said, hey guys, instead of finding us, the new products that we want to sell, can you find us this? And they started to find supplies. And I was like, okay, we're onto something. And then we were able to get in touch with some people on the ground on New Romania, especially, that were running charters. So that's where the whole operation started. And then because of Popup, we had a big network of investors. I started to rally up my investors to help in the network, so to running, to get to fund the initiative. So in a way, Viceroy Group completely pivoted now into a charity organization, meaning that all of our brands are donating 100% to the cause profits. And on top of that, we are also they're also working in Commerce for Good, which is direct support with buying supplies and shipping them directly into Kyiv and Kharkiv.
What has been the biggest challenges with obviously buying the supplies, shipping them in? What have been the biggest challenges you've faced so far over the last few weeks?
Not much. I think it's been like the military grade equipment, especially level 4 plates, just because you need that export license and import license. That has been an issue at the beginning, but we were able to get people on the ground that were able to import them. And through networking, through LinkedIn, really literally just people coming on and just people willing to help. Investors say, hey, I know this guy, let me put in touch. And suddenly we were speaking to the Ministry of Defense in Ukraine, liaisoning with a supplier for the Ministry of Defense in Vietnam. Bulletproof vest. So so this has been, I think,
everyone's connecting
challenges,
so easy.
but everyone is willing to help. So I think it's because people are so willing to help, and you have the public opinion on your side, and companies just, they close an eye. DHL is like, okay, whatever. Usually I have to do all this paperwork, but in this particular case, okay, it's fine. Let's go.
Wow. So everyone's literally, even not just Ukrainians, the whole of the world, the whole of the free world, the West have united in this moment. I was quite surprised with the fact that just news cycles try to get rid of news so quickly. Yeah, war in Ukraine. I thought it was going to be war in Ukraine for a few days and then people will forget about it, only Ukrainians. But it hasn't been. It's been huge, constantly everywhere. Has it been like that where you are? Is it still something that everyone is talking about?
Yeah, and I think it's very important. I was listening to Hillary Clinton's speech. Besides, I'm completely non-bipartisan in these type of things, like especially in American politics. But I was watching her saying something the other day, and she said the most important thing is not to give up on Ukraine because now we're still in the shock. It's all over the news, but this is a long thing. It's not going to stop very, very soon. And even if the war stops next week, there is a lot of rebuild to do. So I think it's important to make sure that this is not just a PR operation used by certain companies to get the immediate attention that they need to sell more products, look good. I think this needs to be an effort to actually help a country that is fighting for our democracy. And I think that the Ukrainian fight is something that all of us, need to take in consideration, because they are fighting for our democracy, and they're fighting for something that is more than just their sovereignty. And I don't think Putin is going to, people say, hey, he's going to take over Poland or take over. I don't think he's going to go against NATO, but it is going to probably go for Moldova and Georgia and Azerbaijan and the other countries. And beside the fact what is done or not, in 2022, we shouldn't live under tyrants anymore. I think we're done with that, And I think if Ukraine needs to be the last country that fights the last tyrant, the last tyrant is Putin, I mean, we should support that as a nation.
Absolutely. They're kind of becoming the gates to Europe, as they say. Yeah, the people who are protecting us, and it's horrible to see and just watch on. But this is why I'm so happy that everyone is actually trying to do something to help at least end the war, part of the pressure onto Russia as much as possible in order to end it as quickly as possible. Okay. What risk do you see when deciding to work outsource with Ukrainian companies in the future?
No, in the future, not much. I think at the immediate future, I wanted to I'm hiring developers at the moment, so I'm looking for developers, and we were looking in Ukraine before the war, and in India, and in Europe in general. The only issue that I see now with developers, and what I'm trying to do, is trying to kind of find the right developers, but knowing that they might not be available for the next foreseeable future. This is the issue that I see sometimes. You can give a job to someone, but they might not have internet. My product manager, she's working, and I said, work when you want. If you don't work at all, it's fine. If you want to work because you need to keep your mind away from things, do that. But I don't expect you to be online. I don't expect you to have any deadlines. I don't expect you to have anything, because, literally you can be going at any time, right?
Yeah.
So this is not, I don't want to put any pressure on anyone. And as a business owner, as a company, targets, KPIs, and all of this, it's important. So this is the issue that I see right now. Hiring a Ukrainian developer that then is not going to be able to fulfill certain things, and then it's going to affect the team. So this is kind of the position that I find immediately kind of hard to manage. But working with Ukrainian company in the future, I mean, I can't wait to go back. I mean, honestly, I can't wait to go back as soon as the war is over, and establish a small office there. We always had an idea of having our content team over there, like our graphic designers and video editors, and doing content over in Kyiv, and it's still there. So even more now. I mean, I think times I was like, I'm not sure if I want to move permanently. We were thinking about maybe we go to Berlin and maybe Kyiv, and now it's definite. It's like, no, we're moving permanently to Kyiv without any doubt.
What is it about Ukraine for you? So what is it about Ukrainian developers, Ukrainian community? How do they differ themselves from the rest? Why would you go to Ukrainians?
I don't know. I fell in love with Ukraine in 2016, and I think I fell in love with the people and the fact that they are incredibly smart, incredibly humble at the same time. So I had the chance to meet very talented individuals with an extreme humbleness, and that's to me was the most amazing thing. And because humbleness is willing to learn, right? Is willing to move forward, and the hunger for things that.
Knowledge,
yeah, but there's things for us that are, we take for granted, like freedom and, security and career progression and investments and all of this. This is like things that if you are in the business, you take for granted. You don't think, hey, am I going to be free or not? But they fight for these things still. They still fight for freedom. They still fight for, equal opportunities. And And I found that's incredible. I think it's a country that's progressing, and I think it's like I want to be where things are moving forward and not things are moving behind. And what I see, like the DIA project with the digitalization of technology, the fact that you can go in a cafe, scan a QR code, order your food, and then pay with that QR code for your bill without even the waiter to call over. The fact that all your documents are digitalized, and NFT curations, allocating crypto as well, very open to like new technology. It's what a country with a young president and a humble nation needs to progress. So I want to be in the middle of that. That's why I want to be in Ukraine.
Definitely being in the middle of it whilst it's rebuilding itself even stronger, and absolutely the country is full of, it kind of feels like it's ahead of the game. Yeah, it feels it's ahead of the game, feels it's ready for taking those challenges and risky challenges in order to build something amazing. Yeah. So yeah, no, I completely agree. And as for the people, the freedom, humble, absolutely, is their ability to be humble, the ability to love and to grow and just live. It's all they want, to live free. I always remember a conversation I had with some of them where they said, when I was like, what are you going to do in a year's time? They say, I don't know, a year's time, how can I plan for that? For us, it's one step forwards, two step back all the time. So it's difficult for them to think ahead, but it doesn't stop them on their kind of the track of being strong,
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely. Okay, so if you will be staying with them at this time, do you think they will be able to provide the service necessary? So you said you don't know about the internet, maybe that could fall flat. Would you, as an employer, would you be worried about hiring new Ukrainian specialists at the moment?
Yes, 100%. I would be worried. Because I would rather just, I give you money, no expectations, I help you out. And this is what I've been doing with my friends. My friends have been out of jobs, and this is why I started the charity as well. This is why I started. I think Ukraine need support right now in terms of money, but putting pressure on them with a job and stuff like this, it's hard. I mean, some of them move to the West. Obviously, some of them move to Poland or things like that. They have stable internet and things like this. So if that's the current situation, but on the ground, I would be worried. I would be worried for this. I mean, at the end of the day, business is to move forward. So I would be worried that they're not going to be able to work or to. And I'm not worried for the people that are working for me, because I take it for granted. I mean, it's like as soon as this happened, I was like, hey, to me, you can take 2 months off. Yeah. Your money's here, whatever you need. If you need an advance, no problem. Whatever for you, if you need to get out of whatever you are, we'll get you something, plane, flights, or whatever it is. It's like 100%. Also, all my friends that have been volunteering will be financing them to buy food, to buy petrol, to buy all of this. So wow. This is where I've been starting to kind of, but yeah, if I have to look for Ukraine, my worry will be, will you be able to work? It's just because also the internet is coming and going now. I mean, I have daily calls with my friends, and sometimes they're like, hey, I'm not online now because, we have no internet until 6. And I think it's like, it's not fair as well to put in pressure on, it's hard to put pressure on them, especially like, imagine starting a new job in the middle of all of this, It's
a lot to take on at one time, isn't it? It's not to,
yeah, I was speaking to an agency, for instance, speaking to this girl from an agency, and she was the first. She said, look, I kind of we love to collaborate with you. And I was like, I love to collaborate with you. And she said, let's talk after this is over. She didn't even blink. She's like, yeah, let's, because they're professional. They're like, I know I'm not going to be able to give my best. And they don't want charity. They don't want, I just hire you because you're Ukrainian and you feel pity for me. They want to be hired because they know they're going to do a great job.
To do the best job.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So they were like, and I told her, I said, look, anything you need, just beside this, if anything you need, just let me know. I'm here.
So you mentioned obviously about people in the west of Ukraine or going into Poland. Would you feel more comfortable if they have an office in the west, if they're working in the west, or is that still something that's unstable?
I think the West is fairly stable now, but it's very hard to understand what's going to happen. I mean, I think it's very hard to understand what's going to happen in China. We might be in the middle of World War III very, very soon. I mean, I'm in Ireland now, which is probably one of the safest places I can be because it's as far as possible with all the conflicts that are happening. But my family is in Italy and they are not that comfortable, you know, especially on economic level, economic sanctions and that are affecting local businesses. Because people there have to understand that, yeah, lots of Russian businesses are affected, but lots of European businesses are affected. You know, in Italy, for instance, there is a lot of tourism that revolves around Russians. There is a lot of companies that, you know, do guides, translations, import, export to Russia and stuff like that. And they're all folding now.
Has this domino effect, isn't it? Completely, yeah.
Domino effect. It's a superpower. This is why I think it's like we need to stop this. Russia needs to be a free country. Russia needs to be a country not, you know, run by a tyrant, because China is not really a problem. I deal with Chinese people for the last, I don't know, 15 years. They're businessmen. They don't have much of a, you know, stand or position. They go where the money is.
Business, yeah.
Business. I sell to you, I sell to you. I'm neutral as long as I make my business. I'm fine.
Make my money.
Enough. Respect them for that. Yeah, of course. They're traders, you know, they manufacturing everything, you know, 60, 70%. Indians, very, very similar. Indians are peaceful. Only left really is Russia and US, of course. But US somehow as a better, as a democratic government, anyways. While Russia is, I think, is the last tyrant. And then you have North Korea, obviously, where, you know, but he's fine. He's just, you know, I said, I stay here. I don't go anywhere.
Exactly, stays on his own. Yeah, exactly.
And you don't come in, I don't come to you.
I think it's obviously because we're so dependent, obviously, as the world on Russia, isn't it? On the oil and the gas, which makes it awful. But actually, this is why I think we're welcoming, all of us, the stops, the halts, the trying to be more independent from, obviously, Russia. So then it enables us to make more free decisions, not decisions where we're being blackmailed, you know?
100%.
So, okay, with Ukrainian specialists, Ukrainian developers, what have you noticed is the difference between them and other developers from other countries? What kind of differences have they got?
Yeah, so in developers, marketing, I hire different people from Ukraine. The difference that I found is the attention to detail and the loyalty as well, which is something that we try to go. It's not necessarily positive. I'm not saying this is a positive thing, because as a company we're trying to moving away from the boss mentality, right? And this is something that we found in Ukraine and I did find in India as well. So someone that I work for you instead of working with you. Like if I'm the founder of a startup, I'm technically your boss, but I'm not your boss. I'm just someone that I'm trying to help you to achieve. Yeah, exactly. We're working together. And I always say that we're working with, and, you know, and a lot of people say I work for Matteo, but it's not like you work with Matteo. It's like, it just happens that we have different roles, right? And I'm the founder of this company. But I think as a company in Popup, we do enforce the servant leadership model where, you know, your manager or whatever, your boss is really just someone to be there for you, to help you to achieve your best potential. So I did find that with Ukrainians as well as other countries, this boss mentality in some cases that we need to, we try always to fight against or to move away from.
So you mean the Ukrainians were more looking towards thinking they have a boss, yeah?
Yeah, to have a boss, yeah. It's like, not, yeah. It's like, you are my boss, I work for you, and, you know, things like this, yeah. But I did find this in both India and Ukraine.
Interesting. I mean, obviously looking kind of for leadership as well in this case, yeah. So obviously looking for leadership, they're very, from what I know from Ukrainians, from my friends, they're very much, you give a task, they will complete it and then say, okay, what's next, you know? So yeah, definitely.
Yes, that's true. I call it the coin, the coin paradox, that you have to put the coin in to get the output, and then you have to put another coin to get the output. Exactly. And I'm like, I don't want to put coins. You know, and this is another thing. Yeah, I'm not paying you for time. for your time. I'm paying you for results. So this is always the thing. It's like, it doesn't really matter. I don't care if you're working Monday to Friday. I don't care if you're working your time. You can work whenever, pretty much you're flexible, and this is your result, right? And then, yeah, this is, I know. It
makes exact sense. Yeah, you know, so they'll do the job to the best ability. And then I guess it's kind of, I guess it comes from USR kind of mentality, you know, whereas very kind of, okay, done my job, what's next? Done my job, what's next? So
what's next?
But, definitely. Okay, let's say software development companies are still up and running, continue to work in a normal place. Do you think, not you personally, but do you think many other companies will feel the same as you? Do you think they will be very apprehensive to work with Ukraine, say the west of Ukraine still? Do you think everyone is still not really knowing what's going on, so that try to go more to India or somewhere like this now?
Yes, I think that can be an issue, especially as well. Like I just got some emails from two of my banks. I mean, it's not an issue because we use Deal, which is a payment provider that can pay people anywhere in the world. The Deal did suspend Russia, but they didn't suspend Ukraine, obviously. But two banks already said we're suspending services to Russia, and Ukraine, both. And then also in terms of like travel as well, completely gone. And then also like DHL, for instance, doesn't ship to Ukraine. No, there's no post. Nothing can be shipped over there. Infrastructure is not great. It's a moment where I think things are stalling. But I do see that once this is over, it's going to be much better than before. So I do see that while companies now will be a little bit apprehensive to hire someone in Ukraine, once the war is finished, they will be more pushed to hire someone in Ukraine. So whatever
you believe that the economy will be able to jump, the specialists will still be there ready?
Skyrocket, yeah, because the threat of the war is gone. Will be gone. So the East conflict that was deterring a lot of foreign investment and foreign companies and stuff like that to invest in Ukraine will be gone. And Ukrainians have just proved themselves to be amazing people. So it's just going to be seen, and it's already been seen by the companies around the world.
It's been a great advertisement for them, hasn't it? But I mean, an awful situation, but great advertisement to show, you know, anti-corruption and all of this, that they are European. These people are reliable. These people are free people, you know, they're ready to fight.
And this is the issue as well, corruption. And there was another big issue in Ukraine that was slowing down the economy. There was a lot of corruption, but that's going to be gone. It's almost like the war is done, the wipeout, right?
Yeah, start from scratch.
You destroy some things, but then means you have to rebuild. And there's something that happened, for instance, in Rwanda. Rwanda is a perfect example during the genocide. So if you look in Africa, there's countries like Uganda versus Rwanda. Rwanda is 20 years further from Uganda. They have internet, they have offices, the roads are great and stuff like that, because during the genocide, all the old people were killed. And so the young people were the one that then built the country up. So this is a perfect example of how wiping something clean then allows you to then flourish. Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm against genocide. Obviously, I'm not saying that's something that should happen, but we have to. I'm trying to
take the good from the bad
at the future. Exactly. Yeah, that's what we have to concentrate on. Otherwise, it's just all bad.
Exactly. No, I completely agree. So let's, I know we haven't got much time left, so let's just finish it on this final question. You kind of answered it. So what do you see for the future? Let's say for the next 10 years in Ukraine, for Ukrainian IT companies, the economy, what do you see? So you see it flourishing. How do you see it flourishing? In which kind of direction?
Well, definitely, I think the tech community in the Silicon Valley have really, really taken Ukraine on their hearts, you know, through the work that the Ministry of Digital Transformation did, from rallying Elon Musk to, you know, rallying basically the biggest company in the world. So that's definitely puts Ukraine in the map for whatever is going to happen in the future. They have a young population, which is, you know, very skilled as well. So I think there's definitely a flourishing ground for a fertile ground to grow. Even speaking to some of my friends that are dev brands like fashion brands, consumer packaged goods brands. Most of them, they produce in Ukraine. So made in Ukraine then will have a stand like made in Italy, you know. Made in Italy has been always for quality, and made in Ukraine will be for freedom and proud and all of this. I think in terms of like branding and marketing and everything, the social media storm that's been created around this war is going to impact Ukraine very, very, very positively. Most people didn't even know what Ukraine was.
It's very true.
Honestly, I'm not joking.
It is very true. Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think one person in the world doesn't know the story of Ukraine, how Ukrainian people are, what they're all about, the story of this war, how did this start? You know, it's like it's definitely never gonna going back.
Absolutely. You know, I saw a meme recently over the last few days which said something like, no longer will someone say to me when I say I'm from Ukraine, and they say, isn't that Russia? No longer will anyone ever say that anymore, which is amazing.
Oh yeah, people said that. People asked
yeah.
I had people say, hey, where is that? That I got that a few times. Yeah, where is that? Or I got people like, why are you going to Ukraine? It's like, like yeah. But then people know, like no one will ask this question anymore.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Thank you, Matteo. Very, very interesting. Thank you very much for your time. Before we finish, have you got anything you would like to say to our Ukrainian listeners, our Ukrainian partners before we go?
Guys, stay strong, and I can't wait to see you as soon as possible. Ryanair said they're not gonna. I mean, they destroyed the airport, so I'll have to come by train, which is gonna be an interesting journey. But I can't wait. I can't wait to be back.
Absolutely, me too. Thank you very much, Matteo. Thank you very much for your time. Very nice to speak to you. Thank you for your support for Ukraine, and we will, as we all say, rebuild Ukraine together. Yeah. So
nice,
cool.